The one thing most traders struggle with is they do too much and they do not have limits on what they're doing. I was always taught that the market is an endless sea of opportunity, but the problem is you can drift aimlessly if you do not confine your actions to a specific session or a specific model. In today's video, I'm going to introduce a basic concept that's always helped me. It's something that I use on all of my charts. I've always had this on here, and it essentially helps keep me grounded in my process and know which times of day that I actually wish to engage. So let's go ahead, open up some trading view charts, and I want to go ahead and share this with you because I believe that this will also help you as well. If you find that trading is sometimes hectic and if you feel like sometimes trading might dictate your life and your schedule, hopefully this will help you with that. So what we have here, right over here on TradingView, I'm looking at one basic indicator, and I'll show you exactly what this is right now. Very simply, it is the ICT Everything by Cold Brew. Simple. What it does is it gives me a couple different lines on my chart automatically. So I'll show you what it looks like with it on and as well as with it off. So we see right here, see, naked chart, and then we get some grayed out sections. I keep my charts pretty clean. It just helps me visually process what's going on better. But what we see here is really simple. It's really, really simple stuff. I have a chart that is divided for the first hour before the market, and then a little bit of time during the market up until New York lunch. There's a lighter area in between during the lunch hour, and then there's a darker section during the PM session. Now, why do I do this? Well, it tells me where I want to be engaging. So if I see that there's a setup forming right before the New York Open, that section to me tells me to be careful at best. Like careful, not overdo it. Don't try to force anything. I don't see this as a super high probability time of day for me. Maybe 1 out of 20 entries might be during that time. So if I see an entry here, I'm going to consider that fact alone. Typically, there has to be a really good setup for me to get involved right at the open. I'll normally wait for a low to be formed or a high to be formed to trade against. And in this scenario, we see, yeah, there's a little bit of a consolidation. So this did give you a little bit of a run up. We tried this. It then sold, right? And then this is where we were able to get some along. And you can see that recap traded live with the Discord, links in the description, as well as the videos on my YouTube, the full recording. So you can see, took a couple stabs at some things. But what these lines tell me on this chart is where I want to be involved. So if I see that a trade's setting up closer to this lunch hour, I'm more hesitant because that gray section right here, this is my primary focus. I'm trying to trade within this window right here, from essentially right here to right here. I want to be done, entered and exited by that point. I don't want to be holding through this. As well as when I get into the PM session, I want to potentially trade a little bit after the open, maybe 30 minutes after that hour starts. It's a simple concept, but the idea is by having these frames, it helps you understand where you should actually be looking to be done with the market, where you should actually be rotating into your next task for the day, whether that's your journaling, whether that's your breakfast, whether that's taking the dogs out for a walk. You need to have that division in your life. Markets will take all of your time if you let them. And that is one thing that I see so many new traders struggle with. They let the markets dictate their lifestyle when in reality they got into trading so that they could have freedom of lifestyle. So make it make sense. That's all I'm saying. This layout on my chart gives me a couple reference points as well. So it's not just times that I necessarily want to avoid, but it will tell me essentially, this is what Asia looked like. That's the session. It will tell me the midnight open. So essentially, like this is the start of the new day, right? Midnight, put it on Eastern time. You can see what it does during London. You can see essentially the different times a day. So this division right here can help me understand what are we likely to do. When I see that London hasn't done too much, it's kind of went up and down. I'm not necessarily extremely bullish at the open. Like I am somewhat, but not extremely. I'm not like, okay, we need to immediately run super, super high. It might happen, but that's not my natural inclination. When I see something like this, it sweeps lower and you get that sort of 10 a.m. low, that's a better setup in my mind because of the element of time. Setups typically happen on some sort of schedule. They tend to happen around the same time of day. It's not a foreign concept that there's certain amounts of volatility at the open, and then there's certain amounts of volatility an hour after the open, and then same thing with a couple hours. So when you understand that the markets are somewhat scheduled, they have tendencies, right? You can use those to help frame the ideal trading day for you. Maybe you like a slower market, so maybe you do trade London. Maybe you do trade Asia. That's perfectly fine. But the thing is, where's your limit? Where's your boundary? Where can you not trade past? When you start to develop a consistency in time that you look at the market, you'll develop consistent outcomes because you're doing the same thing. The more that you perfect that singular trade, the better you'll do in the long run because you won't be concerned with novelty, with chasing every new shiny object, with every new made up model. You'll find one thing that works and you will stick to that. That means sticking to a specific schedule. You want every single day to kind of mirror the day before. It should look like the rest of them. When you have too much novelty or newness in every single day, it gets hard to develop consistency because consistency is boring. It's boring. You have to do the same thing over and over. But that's what ensures that you get competent at what you're doing, that you develop proficiency at what you're doing, that you understand it on a deep level. So I would recommend using some sort of tool, whether it's a chart based tool like I have here, or maybe you have a schedule or a timer, something to help you understand when you need to be done. Because after a certain point, the day doesn't typically get better. It will typically get worse. And I can speak from experience where if you're just on tilt or something, maybe you're just not seeing the market, the longer you stick around, the less likely you are to figure it out. You're going to get more frustrated. You're going to run out of energy, and it's just going to be a slippery slope downhill. And this is something that I have to work with traders on a lot, actually, is just helping them understand that, hey, just because you have the emotional desire to, reach your goals immediately, that doesn't dictate the fact that there's still time to learn these skills. It takes time. It doesn't happen automatically, and it definitely doesn't happen at random times a day. You'll find traders do the most insane things at random times a day. They'll consistently avoid New York lunch. And then when they're on a day of tilt, they won't even consider what time of day it is. And they'll take 20 trades here. And it's a symptom of sticking around too long. The markets are meant for low exposure, low stress. You get in, get your piece, get out. You don't overdo it. So hopefully this simple trick is something that maybe you haven't thought of. Hopefully this helps. I know this has helped me tremendously. This isn't just something that I'm just bringing up. I use this consistently. I always have my charts divided up like this. It helps me see things clearer. So if this helped you, leave a like, share this with a friend. Comment down below if you've maybe used this before or come up with something similar or maybe something different on your own. But yeah, until next time, take care and we'll talk soon.